Imagine falling from the sky, 10,000 feet, strapped to a plane seat, watching the jungle race toward you, and somehow surviving. That's exactly what happened on Christmas Eve, 1971, when lightning shattered lands of Flight 508, killing 91 people in an instant. Yet 17-year-old Julianne Coep emerged alive, broken but breathing, deep in the Amazon. With nothing but rainwater, a handful of candy, and the survival instincts taught by her parents, she walked through the merciless rainforest for 11 days. When she was finally found, the world stood in disbelief. She was the only survivor of the disaster. In the early 1900s, America's industrial boom was fueled not just by coal, but by the small, fragile hands of children. By 1910, more than 2 million kids as young as 5 were sent into the mines, their childhoods buried under 12-hour shifts in suffocating darkness. This haunting photo shows a trapper boy whose only job was to sit alone for hours, opening and closing a ventilation door to keep the air flowing underground. Paid pennies, exposed to deadly dust and collapsing tunnels, these children became invisible cogs in an unforgiving machine, sacrificed so the nation could power its progress. On a summer night in 1969, power, tragedy, and scandal collided on Chappaquiddick Island. Senator Ted Kennedy, heir to America's most famous political dynasty, drove his Oldsmobile off a narrow bridge into the dark waters below. He escaped. His passenger, 28-year-old Mary Jo Kopech, did not. For 10 agonizing hours, Kennedy failed to report the accident. While evidence suggests Mary Jo may have been alive, trapped in an air pocket, waiting for help that never came. This haunting image of the wrecked car is more than a crash site. It's a moment that shattered lives, ended a young woman's future, and cast an unshakable shadow over a dynasty. This seemingly ordinary street photo hides a chilling truth. It was taken just seconds before the red car behind them exploded, killing 29 people and injuring hundreds in Omagh, Northern Ireland, August 1998. The bombing, carried out by the real IRA, became the deadliest single incident of the Troubles. The photographer never lived to see his work again. The camera was found in the rubble, preserving this haunting moment in time. In a twist of fate, the man and the child in the photo survived, but the image remains a frozen warning of how life can change in an instant. The flames you see here aren't just consuming paper, they're devouring fear itself. In 1956, Hungarians rose up against Soviet domination in a desperate revolt for freedom, and one of the most defiant acts was the burning of Stalin's portrait. For years, his face symbolized oppression, censorship, and bloodshed. But in that moment, surrounded by fire and smoke, ordinary citizens dared to erase the image that had haunted their lives. The revolution was brutally crushed. Yet this photo captures a rare instant when courage outweighed terror, and the people showed the world that even dictators could burn. In the chaos of World War II, soldiers found an unlikely brother in arms, a bear named Wojciech. Adopted by Polish troops in 1942, he wasn't just a mascot. He was enlisted as a private, drew rations, and even marched with his unit. But his legend was sealed at the Battle of Monte Cassino, where Wojciech carried heavy crates of mortar shells, unfazed by the thunder of war. He became the symbol of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company, a living reminder that courage sometimes comes in the most unexpected forms, and that even in humanity's darkest hours, loyalty can come from a bear. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary wedding photo from the 1950s, a young couple smiling beside their cake, radiating hope for the future. But the groom is none other than Charles Manson, photographed on his wedding day in January 1955, years before his name would become synonymous with terror. In this moment, he was just a 20-year-old man promising a normal life. No one could have imagined that behind the smile was a darkness that would later shock the world. It's a chilling reminder that evil doesn't always announce itself. It sometimes hides behind a charming grin. Their faces are frozen in fear, clutching their children in a desperate attempt to shield them from the unimaginable. This haunting image was taken in Vietnam in 1968, just moments before the My Lai massacre, when U.S. troops slaughtered more than 500 unarmed civilians, mostly women, children, and the elderly. What was supposed to be a search and destroy mission became one of the darkest chapters in American military history. This single photograph captures the raw terror of innocents who knew their final moments had come, a chilling reminder of the human cost of war. Families in swimsuits, children laughing by the pool, and tourists sipping cocktails, all while a mushroom cloud rises in the distance like it's part of the show. This surreal photo from Las Vegas in 1953 captures the bizarre era when atomic bomb tests just 75 miles away became a form of entertainment. Hotels advertised dawn bomb parties. Crowds cheered as if it were fireworks, and no one fully grasped the invisible danger drifting through the desert air. It's a chilling reminder of how spectacle blinded many to the devastating power of what they were actually witnessing. With a rifle in hand and a gaze that dared anyone to cross her, this is Stagecoach Mary Fields, a legend of the American West. Standing 6 feet tall, she wasn't just the first black woman to work as a U.S. postwoman. She was also one of the toughest. In the late 1800s, Mary drove more than 300 miles a week through snow, storms, and outlaws to deliver the mail. Locals swore she had the temperament of a grizzly bear. Yet in Cascade, Montana, she was beloved, a fearless woman who refused to be defined by anyone but herself. In the ruins of war-torn Naples, 1944, a young boy wraps his arm around his friend who has lost a leg, holding him upright as they face a world shattered by violence. Their clothes are tattered, their bodies thin, but what radiates from this image is not despair, it's unshakable loyalty. In the middle of rubble and chaos, they stand as a symbol of resilience, proof that even in humanity's darkest hours, compassion can become a weapon of survival. This photograph isn't just about loss. It's about the unbreakable bond that keeps hope alive. In 1945, while Europe burned in the final battles of World War II, an 18-year-old princess rolled up her sleeves and broke centuries of royal tradition. Elizabeth Windsor, the future Queen of England, enlisted in the Auxiliary Territorial Service, trading gowns for grease-stained overalls. Nicknamed Princess Auto Mechanic, she learned to repair engines, drive trucks, and handle ambulances, proving that duty ran deeper than privilege. This rare photograph captures her not as a monarch in waiting, but as a determined young woman willing to serve shoulder to shoulder with her people in Britain's darkest hour. In the 1940s, nylon stockings were a luxury most women couldn't afford. Wartime shortages had made them nearly impossible to find. But necessity sparked creativity. Women began painting their legs with special dyes, carefully drawing a seam down the back to mimic the look of real stockings. It wasn't just fashion, it was dignity, a way of holding on to elegance in a world torn apart by war. This photo captures one of those moments, where style and resilience blended seamlessly, proving that even in times of sacrifice, women found ways to walk with pride. In September 1958, as the fight over school integration erupted in Little Rock, Arkansas, education itself became a battlefield. With public schools closed to resist desegregation, young teens like these were forced to continue their lessons through television broadcasts. This image captures them sitting attentively on the floor, notebooks in hand, while a teacher on the TV screen replaces the classroom that segregation denied them. It's a haunting reminder of how deep resistance to equality ran, so powerful that an entire generation's education was disrupted just to preserve segregation. Before he became the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama was just a young boy with a bright smile, growing up in Hawaii during the 1960s. This photo captures him in his mother and Dunham's arms, a moment of warmth and innocence long before the weight of history rested on his shoulders. No one could have imagined then that this child, raised between cultures and continents, would one day inspire millions with the promise of "Yes, we can." It's a powerful reminder that even the most extraordinary journeys often begin in the most ordinary moments. Buried in the heart of Appalachia during the 1970s and 80s, women stepped into the coal mines where few believed they belonged, shattering traditions with grit and determination. Covered in soot, they emerged each day not only carrying the weight of coal, but also the weight of prejudice, proving that survival and strength know no gender. This rare photo captures a powerful contrast. A miner's face smeared with the dust of backbreaking labor, smiling as she embraces her child, reminding us that behind every battle fought underground was another fought above, for dignity, equality, and a future worth the sacrifice. In 1906, long before conversations about gender and identity became mainstream, sailors at sea often found moments of humor, rebellion, and self-expression in unexpected ways. This striking photo captures a sailor in drag, dressed with elegance and confidence, blurring the rigid lines of masculinity that defined his era. At a time when society demanded conformity, these playful performances offered both escape and subtle defiance. Looking at his poised expression and elaborate costume, we're reminded that history is filled with moments where courage hid in plain sight, disguised as entertainment, but carrying echoes of freedom far ahead of its time. 1912, the Mexican Revolution was tearing the country apart, and one man became both legend and nightmare: Pancho Villa. This photograph captures him in his element, mounted on horseback, ammunition strapped across his chest, the desert sun burning behind him. To his followers, he was a Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and defending the poor. To his enemies, he was a ruthless outlaw who could not be controlled. Villa's name traveled far beyond Mexico, inspiring fear in governments and fascination in the world's press. Here, frozen in time, he looks less like a man and more like the embodiment of revolution itself. April 7, 1951, rows of VIPs sit casually in wooden chairs on Inuitak Atoll, wearing protective goggles as if preparing for a show. But what they were about to witness was no spectacle. It was the detonation of an 81-kiloton nuclear bomb. Just 6 years after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, America was not only perfecting its nuclear arsenal, but also treating its raw destructive power as something to be observed, studied, and even applauded. The surreal calm of these men, seated like beachgoers, contrasts sharply with the unimaginable devastation that mushroom cloud would represent for millions. History often hides its darkest moments in plain sight.